Hi muckers, and welcome back to the second video I am posting on my YouTube channel today. Hi, welcome back, or welcome if you didn't watch the other one, doesn't matter, but I appreciate you being here, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump right into today's video. I need to do my disclaimers, which is if you click the link below, there's a Facebook link. It's the Private Muckers, the community, Facebook group for all of us. We talk there every single day. If you go request, I'll accept you, and also my second channel's down there. Please go subscribe, and please go check out. I post there every single day. It's my little YouTube disclaimers. I'm not a YouTuber if I don't do that. But anyway, today's video, let's get right into it because I'm very interested for it. We are going to be talking about two names. James Charles and Def Noodles. The most nightmare blunt rotation ever, I'd have to say. But basically, I was thinking about this quite recently whenever I talked to a lot of my friends about things that happen in the online world because I kind of need some sort of people that don't really know a lot about it, to kind of get their opinions on it. I don't know if that makes sense, but if I was to talk to my mum about it, she watches my videos so she knows everything. If I was to talk to the muckers about it, which I do all the time, we have the same level of knowledge on it. Whereas if I talk to my friends about it, they have limited knowledge on who all these people are. They don't know who Def Noodles is. They don't know who James Charles, you know what I mean? So it's different. And I was speaking to them about James Charles and the scandals. And a lot of them knew James Charles solely from recent things within the past year and a half, is that right? Yeah, July 2021, so within the past year, of James Charles having many allegations against him. So it was interesting hearing what they knew about the drama. And a lot of them actually knew about the Def Noodles thread that had happened, but a lot of them also said that they watched James Charles' video and he described everything well, and they, basically the synopsis, I'm going somewhere with this, don't worry. The synopsis of what they were saying was that they didn't really know what happened other than a lot of victims of James Charles came forward, and that James Charles made a video that basically debunked that a lot of them were lies. And I didn't really get into it with them, but I thought I'm going to take this knowledge and I'm going to sit down and talk to the muckers because this is a conversation about how Def Noodles does not care about victims and how Def Noodles actually became the reason that James Charles was able to get away from any criticism or any cancellation or any repercussions of the most recent time whenever underage people, or not even just underage people, but people in general, boys, men, came forward about feeling that they were being used by James, that James was being inappropriate with them, making them uncomfortable, was harassing them, all these different things. But James Charles, now, no one talks about that anymore, and everyone's moved on from it. And the reason for that, whenever I was asking all my friends, was, oh, didn't he post that video that, basically said that a lot of people were lying or whatever? And I went, no more lies? The one with Taddy Westbrook? They went, no, a more recent one. And I pulled it up and it was an open conversation video. And in this video, James Charles is able to use Def Noodles as a way of making people feel bad for him. Therefore, he got no criticism, and we're gonna just dissect it all right now. So basically, I got a lot of criticism this time last year from Def Noodles fans, and I lost so many subscribers when this happened because I said that Def Noodles didn't care about victims and that he was being incredibly careless with his commentary, with his coverage of James Charles and people speaking up against him. Do you remember whenever every single day it seemed like a new victim of James Charles was speaking up, and then there would be text conversations and calls and pictures, and sometimes there was even nothing, it was just someone saying that they'd spoken to him or whatever. Do you remember that every single day, multiple a day? And I was saying how Def Noodles was not vetting who he was posting the stories of, which therefore, whenever the people he was posting stories of were saying, oh, sorry, I actually did that to get attention, because there were a lot of people that were doing that because they knew that if, they posted it, that Dennis would cover it, and then they would get a lot of people on their TikTok page. There were maybe 10 of them that did that out of the entire thread, right? Even more. And Dennis never once vetted who was right and who was wrong, who was telling the truth, who was not. And the reason for that was because Dennis had such a superiority complex about him, which a lot of people are agreeing with now, that he wanted to be the first to cover stories before me, before Peter Mom, before Angelica Oles, Spillsesh, Ethan Klein. He wanted to be the first person because of his gluck obsession with Ethan Klein. He wanted Ethan to shout out that this came from Dennis, and because they were talking about James Charles. And here's the thing. I said in that moment that there were more than one real people that were speaking about real things that had happened with James Charles. And they needed to be listened to. And I said that it was fucking disgusting that, what is his name? Fucking Def Noodles was willingly posting fake stories about James Charles. And I'm saying willingly because in a couple of them, the captions of the videos that he saved and uploaded said basically along the lines that it was a joke or that they were doing it for clout. So he then watered down the real people speaking up, a lot of them being underage. He watered down those stories so much that people were overwhelmed with victims of James Charles that when James Charles was making his video talking about this after taking the internet break, James was able to focus on the fact that a drama channel on Twitter, he's talking about Def Noodles, was posting so many fake stories every single day that it was just ridiculous and you know, I'm the victim now and everyone just wants to cancel James Charles and you know, oh my god, like everyone's lying on my name. And he was able to use that because Dennis was basically doing that. Def Noodles, and I'm sorry if this sounds harsh, he does not care about victims. He never did, never will, from what we've seen of him so far, unless he made even more fucking recently. He has made it so that James Charles was able to literally use Dennis's carelessness and selfishness and ego to get out of this. And that's what we're going to watch today. I have this video, it's 30 minutes long. I have a timestamp from, because in a lot of this he just kind of gets back to the internet and let's do makeup, whatever. But there's a portion of it where he talks about the fake stories. And this makes me so fucking angry because there were real stories that were speaking up against James Charles. But because Dennis was such a... Let's keep it terms of service, Adam. Let's keep it YouTube terms of service friendly. He was posting so many stories a day because he was getting so much engagement that it basically made it that people didn't know what was real or what was not. People stopped talking about it, and when James was able to come back from it, because people were so overwhelmed with it, he was able to say a majority of the stories were fake, because they were. Because Dennis was being so fucking careless and egotistical that all he wanted was clicks and views and money. So the real people speaking up had their voices silenced by Def Noodles. So not only was he able to give James this big leeway to get his career back, he also silenced so many people in the process. And this is why whenever he sued Keemstar, I made that harsh video way back last year, or whenever it was, saying that, oh my god, he is the worst person in the entire world, before everyone else turned on Dennis. And I'm not saying this to be like, oh, I knew before. First of all, people have been talking about Dennis behind the scenes for a long time. But all I'm saying is, I was calling out in that moment that it's incredibly ironic for Dennis to sue someone for saying that there are allegations against Def Noodles whenever he did the exact same thing to James Charles, basically. But people didn't want to have that conversation a year ago. Let's try it again, shall we? So before I get to this section of James' video, because I'm blocked on every single Twitter account I have by Dennis, I'm still going to find your tweets, jackass. So Dennis tweeted after James mentioned it in the video and was like, this is the thread James Charles mentioned in his comeback video. Feel free to look through it. So it was Def Noodles, hey Morphe, here's what's happening. James Charles, he's been sexting 6 minors, catfishing, SHing fans, and here's his thread. Goes on and 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 on. And by the way, Dennis reported on, just another example, Dennis reported on a story of a young boy speaking up against James, and in it, people were calling out that the text looked photoshopped, that the conversation didn't flow naturally, didn't seem real, and the boy ended up coming forward and saying, yes, I did lie about it, and Dennis literally didn't retract his original statements, which got thousands of likes, which then made people think there was another one, which then again directed attention away from the real people speaking up. But whenever Dennis addressed the fact that he had posted yet another fake story, he blamed the kid. He went, oh, another fake influencer apology of the day, taking no credibility. So I want that to be known. And by the way, this thread has so fucking many. And by the way, so in James's video, he said that he said like 2 of them or 3 of them, I can't remember. I literally watched this video like 10 minutes ago. I have the attention span of a fucking snail. Do they have good attention spans or not? I don't know if we talk about that. He said that he did engage in inappropriate conversation with like 2 or 3 of them. But keep in mind, from what we were aware on Dennis's Twitter, you would think that there was 2 or 3 every fucking hour with the rate he was tweeting, because he was getting such good engagement that he just kept going. Anyway, so now that we've said that, I want to watch James's video just so you can see how much Def Noodles saved him. Saved him. Let's get to it.
And that could not be further than the
Oh,
truth.
Jesus, fucking sped up. That's how I watch videos. 2x speed. I know a lot of people watch my videos like that. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's get to it.
I feel like calling this a scandal in the first place is just not an appropriate word to be using with this situation. There's no denying that I've been in my fair share of scandals online, but using that word with this situation just feels really, really wrong. And it really feels like it's making light of what actually happened, and I don't want to do that. I definitely have not been taking this lightly. If I thought that this was just some stupid scandal that I can move on from, I would not have uploaded my last video, and I would be posting on social media like nothing ever happened. But this has been the worst but most important wake-up call of my entire life for a lot of different reasons, and this is by far the most embarrassing thing to ever happen to me. I mean, if you guys have been following for a while now, you all know what happened in 2019. I'm definitely not going to get into that, but, you know, when that all happened, I was accused of something that I did not do, and I was able to prove it all wrong, but I did recognize that I needed to make changes, and I uploaded a video making a lot of promises to my audience and to the public that I was going to work on myself behind the scenes, and I did. I spent 2 years, you know, changing my behavior, changing the way that I went about dating and flirting with guys. I worked on rebuilding my brand and my social media presence, and now, 2 years later, that this is happening again, even though the situations are not connected, even though it's a different thing, it really looks as though I have made no progress, I haven't listened, I haven't learned, and that sucks so much. I really feel like I let down myself, I feel like I let down my team, my friends, my followers, everybody who's been by my side supporting me and even defending me over the past 2 years from everything that went down beforehand. I now feel as though I have made to look stupid, and that is quite literally the most crushing, embarrassing feeling in the entire world. And I said it in my last video, but I will say it again to everybody close to me, to all my friends, my family, my fans. I am so sorry for disappointing you guys and letting you down once again. You know, as scary as it is to...
Okay, so that was the section of James taking accountability, if you can even fucking say that in this video. By the way, you know my feelings on James Charles. I don't think he should have ever had a career after the first time. My point in making this video is about how, for a long time now, Dennis has been doing the opposite of what he's been campaigning for. So, that was James discussing that, you know, what it came across like, but now he's able to spend the rest of the video doing the following because of Def Noodles' recklessness.
Think about, I've also come to terms with the fact that this isn't just something that I can move on from. I am aware that, you know, no matter what I say in this video or 10 videos down the line or a year's worth of videos down the line, these stories and accusations are going to follow me for the rest of my life and the rest of my career, and that sucks so much it's not even funny, and it's so horrifying and embarrassing, but at the end of the day, it's my own fault and my own responsibility to, you know, take accountability for what I did. I want to be held accountable for what I did do, and
Alright, okay, so here we are, sorry. So, keep in mind, from this point on now, so we got 7 minutes of James Charles addressing that he did something wrong, but now, because of Dennis, this is how he's able to save his entire career. Well done, Dennis.
All I can hope is that whether it be, you know, weeks, months, years down the line, I'm able to showcase my growth in the person that I really, really am. Now, like I said, obviously I have absolutely no problem holding myself accountable for things that I did.
Good job, Dennis.
But I also do think as creators, or not even really creators, as human beings, we should also be able to defend ourselves on things that we didn't do. Now, when I posted my last video holding myself accountable, I mentioned that I was going to be taking a break from social media for a while and wouldn't be responding to anything. And quite a lot of people took advantage of my time away and really ran wild with all sorts of stories and videos and allegations that made this situation a lot worse. I do want to take some time in this video today to just shed some light and further information on some stories, you know, that either did or did not happen and that I saw being spread on social media while I was gone, because I think it's really important that you guys have the full picture of what actually went down. There was basically one drama channel on Twitter that started a thread and started compiling a list of anybody that said literally anything about me on social media. And after what felt like weeks of somebody new coming forward every single day, it eventually became the 20 victims of James Charles. I'm not going to go through this list one by one because I know that nobody wants to sit here for an hour listening to me talk about this, but I do feel as though I have to say something because I am just not comfortable with this video or really any video moving forward allowing anybody, let alone my followers, to think that there are any victims of James Charles, let alone 20 victims of James Charles, because that is completely, unequivocally not true. Now, when I say that literally anything and everything was being added to this list, I really do mean...
So even beyond James saying about how, like, there's no victims of James Charles, whatever, because, again, that is up for debate. I'm sorry, allegedly. He's able to focus now on the 20 victims of James Charles. The big thread. The big exposed thread. Good job, Dennis. Because Dennis was trying to get his way ahead of all of the rest of us by basically covering any story as fact. Keep in mind, the journalist, Def Noodles, one day he's a journalist, one day he's a fucking comedy character. Fuck me. This is how James was able to get out of it. And no one talks about this because during this time, everyone was... The same way Dennis sucks Ethan's cock, they were doing that to Dennis. Do we want to call a spade a spade? Alright.
Anything and everything. There are a few different influencers from TikTok.
My throat hurts, so I'm going to be even more bitchy in this video.
That sent into my DMs,
what you're
or I sent
getting.
into their DMs and had a 5-minute conversation with them until asking their age or sexuality and then completely stopped responding. There were guys that I matched with on Tinder last year and they had their ages set to 18 or 19, so I talked to them and flirted with them for a while because that's the whole point of an adult dating app until I realized that they were lying, so I blocked them and nothing further happened. One of my own friends is on that list simply because we filmed a TikTok together when he was 18 and the drama channel that was posting this just decided that I groomed him. There was a guy from my high school on that list because he made a video about me, and as annoying as it was, at least in his video, he fully said that it was completely consensual, that we were both grown adults, and that he was only posting it for clout. I can at least appreciate the honesty, but the problem is when it was reported...
So, now James is able to focus on the many of those stories that were blatantly not true, which again, takes away from the ones that were truthful. So again... Who doesn't care about victims?
On Twitter, it was a fan comes
because you wouldn't put real people's stories on the lines for being able to get clicks from putting on stories that literally in the description say that they're not true, or stories that if you just go a couple more videos after that, they talk about how they just did it for clout. You're taking away from the real people that were speaking up about their stories and their experiences, but you didn't care about that because all you wanted to get was Twitter engagement. Just for your Twitter account to get suspended after that. Good job, Dennis.
James Charles forcing him to do blah, 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 blah. Which is just so far from what was even said by the person that actually made the video in the first place. But the worst part about all of this is that on top of all of those situations, there were countless videos posted that were completely fake. I'm not talking about somebody unsent a message or somebody took something out of context.
See how we can focus on this now?
Conversations.
He's able to completely derail the conversation because of one person. Dennis.
That fully never happened, that were edited from beginning to end. Now, to be fair, there were several other drama channels and even news outlets and reporters that were calling out this person for knowingly posting fake stories and information time and time and time again.
And Keemstar was as well. And Keemstar... Listen, I'm aware of the things against Keemstar. That he's not the most reliable person in the entire world. But Keemstar was one from day one was calling Dennis out for this shit.
And I am really, really appreciative of that. But the problem is, we are such a headline-driven society that people don't see that information being corrected or, being taken down. All they see is that initial headline, which literally said the 20 victims of James Charles, and that's the information that sticks with them. When more and more things were being added to this list, the one response that I saw over and over and over again was that there's a pattern here. James keeps saying that he's the victim, he keeps saying that these people are lying to him or taking advantage of him. All these people can't be working together, and where there's smoke, there's fire, so obviously something is going on. And I 1,000,000% understand exactly why people are saying that, because if I was on the outside, I'd be saying the same exact thing. It looks so suspicious. I kept thinking...
So see how now James is able to take the criticism that he's getting and be like, I completely agree with you on how it looks like that because of that thread. Like, yeah, I'm with you. That's why this video was received very well.
Like, why does this keep happening to me? What am I doing wrong? Why can't I just find somebody who likes me for me? But I finally realized, and like I talked about in my last video, I was allowing myself to be so easily accessible to literally anybody who wanted to give me attention and have a conversation for 5 minutes, because I was so delusional in thinking that the conversation can't hurt. Maybe it'll actually lead to me finding, the one. When in reality, of course, statistically, that does make sense. If you talk to more people, it, I guess, increases your chances of being able to find a potential partner, but at the same time, I wasn't realizing that also increases my chances of...
Not when they're all... I'm not gonna finish that sentence.
Finding
I'm
somebody
not getting
not
sued
great
today.
that doesn't want to talk to me for the right reasons and that might lie or take advantage of me. And that is nobody's fault other than my own. That being said, though, there is a second pattern that's happening here that I really do feel like a lot of people aren't seeing, and I feel as though it's important for me to point out. And that pattern is that if you make a video about me, your experience dating or talking to me, whatever it may be, whether it's completely real or completely fake, it will go viral on social media. Now, I am not saying that to boost my own ego and beat my chest and act like I'm so important and so famous. It really is just the reality of the situation. If you look at the people's profiles who have posted this content, all of their videos have 1,000 views, 2,000 views, maybe 10,000, but then all of a sudden, my experience with James Charles, whether it be completely real or completely fake, has 6 million views. And at this point, it's literally become a trend to post screenshots of conversations, not just with me, but with everybody. And at this point, dare I even say, like, a meme to post your experience talking to James Charles. Now,
see? The entire thing has been turned around by James, and it was only successfully able to do that because he was given the leeway by Dennis. Are we ready for the conversation? I mean, I hope so. We're 21 minutes into it. I hope we are.
now,
It's
once
ridiculous.
again, I recognize that this is my
Ridiculous.
own fault. I wish more than anything I could go back in time and stop myself from making all those jokes about straight guys years ago and talking about dating and how I was single and how I wanted a boyfriend so badly. Like, I wish more than anything that I kept that private. Unfortunately, at this point, there's nothing that I can do about that other than just be better moving forward. But at the same time, I'm still a human being that deserves privacy and respect like everybody else. You know, it's one thing to have a super innocent and casual 5-minute conversation with somebody on Instagram DMs or a dating app, and then to scroll on your For You page an hour later and see every single message that was sent. It already feels really, really violating and dehumanizing, but at the same time, once again, it's my own fault, and that's just what happens with having a platform. But now we've gotten to a point where people are completely faking conversations from beginning to end that contain incriminating content, and they're going really, really viral, and nobody thinks twice about them or knows what to believe. And that's what's so horrifying about this trend, and it has to stop. And when speaking of this, I think it's really important for me to clarify as well that in no way, shape, or form am I trying to invalidate victims or victim blame or victimize myself either. When I posted my last video, I recognized that although I was not guilty of what I was being accused of, I was not innocent in general and did need to make a lot of changes and apologize moving forward. So I'm not trying to invalidate any of those people, but at the same time, you can't be a victim of something that did not happen. And with all these people making completely fake conversations and screenshots and posting videos of a 5-minute conversation just to get attention and clout and likes and go viral on social media to add to this crazy narrative, all it does is discredit and disrespect the people that were actually affected in the first place, and it waters down the severity of the issue and the situation going on, but it also discourages people from being able to come forward in the future, because when it's so easy to Photoshop and edit these conversations from beginning to end, nobody's going to know what to believe, and that is a really, really dangerous situation. The last thing that I kind of want to talk about is that I know when
Alright, okay, I'm gonna leave it at that, but basically, he's able to turn it around. He's able to turn it completely around and also have the conversation of, you know, I stand with victims and I believe victims and victims should be heard and like this. And he sounds really great when he's saying this, that people are forgetting what he's being accused of, because he's able to say, you know, if I was getting accused of this, why was I being accused of it by 100 people? You know, that was because people were out to get me, and then it completely turns it around. And I really would love to hear people's opinions of this, because Dennis is so proud of that thread. He's so proud of it. So much so that I actually went on Safari and typed in the following. I typed in, here we go, let me get this up, just to prove to you. I typed in Def Noodles Twitter James Charles thread, and then Def Noodles Twitter James Charles victims, and I mean, it is just, like, these are all individual threads that I could click. So he's overwhelming it with people who were photoshopping DMs, or people who, a video later, if he did the bare minimum research, were saying that they lied, which completely derailed the conversation away from the real victims. Because Dennis didn't care about the fact that there were victims in this, whatever. He cared that, oh my god, there's more people to add to the thread, which is getting me a lot of likes, which Ethan Klein is reading out. Getting me more attention. But I mean, in the long run, all those people laughed him anyway. Ethan, his fans, like, I don't mean to be a bitch, but like, let me pull up Dennis's YouTube channel. Def Noodles. I mean, it speaks for itself. 2,000 views, 3,000, 1,000 views. How you pulling 1,000 views in 3 days on a channel with, what, 500,000 subscribers? 2,000, 3,000, 2,000, 4,000, 2,000. Motherfucker, these are views I pull on my second channel, which no one cares about. Like, that's embarrassing for you. But I guess it just took the long game for it to hit him, I guess. It just made me really frustrated whenever I was having the conversation with my friend and people really think that, like, James is not guilty of anything because he was able to get out of it like that. And I just wanted to have this conversation to be like, do other people also think like that? Because you were, like, brainwashed by Def Noodles' like idiocy of wanting to be the biggest news channel on YouTube. Like, fuck me, give it a break. Anyways, let me know your opinion of this. I love you. Thank you so much for watching. I really did want to film this video. Again, second channel's down below. Gets more views than Dennis's main channel. My Facebook group, if you want to join for the muckers. I love you, and I'll see you in my next one. And bye. Mwah!